主権国家なわけないじゃないですか。植民地なんですよ。
You've probably seen this parliament clip online, the moment where a politician asked if Japan is a US colony. That single question spreads everywhere and sparked a huge debate. Today, I'm going to break down the history, the constitution, the US base, and the geopolitics behind this claim, and explain why the truth is far more complex than what you see in this video. In the video, Taro Yamamoto doesn't just make the claim, he directly asks Japan's Prime Minister if Japan is a US colony. And her answer is very simple, very direct and very important. She says Japan is a sovereign nation.
大臣はこの国は植民地だと思われますか？
主権国家でございます。
And that's true. Legally and politically, Japan is 100% independent. But if that's the case, why does this debate exist at all? Why does a short clip make millions of people think Japan might not be fully free? To understand that, we have to go back in history, to the moment the United States ended the war and reshaped Japan's future.
Admiral Halsey's Third Fleet becomes the scene of an unforgettable ceremony, marking the complete and formal surrender of Japan.
When the United States ended the war in 1945, Japan entered a complete new era. The country was under American-led occupation for 7 years. During that time, the US helped reconstruct Japan from the ground up, politically, socially, and legally. The most important outcome of this period was the 1947 Constitution. It transferred Japan into a peaceful democracy, it expanded civil rights, and it redefined Japan's military identity forever. During the occupation, Japan was administered by the Supreme Commander for the Allied Powers, better known as SCIP. This authority was held by General Douglas MacArthur, who became the most influential figure in reshaping post-war Japan. His team rewrote the legal system, dissolved wartime structures, and introduced democratic reforms. Political parties were re-established, women were given the right to vote, and freedom of speech and press were expanded. The goal of the occupation wasn't just to punish Japan, it was to rebuild the nation so it would never again return to militarism. And this rebuilding process is essential to understand why Japan's constitution, especially Article 9, is so unique compared to other countries. Article 9 renounces war. It forbids Japan from maintaining war potential. That's why Japan does not have any offensive missiles, strategic bombers, or nuclear weapons. It has a self-defense force, but their legal role is strictly defensive. The self-defense force was established in 1954, just 2 years after Japan regained the sovereignty. Even then, many politicians argued that having any kind of military force violated Article 9. This is why Japan avoids using words like army, navy, or air force. Even so, the self-defense forces is modern, well-equipped, and highly trained. Over the years, the self-defense forces have become one of the most technological advanced defensive militaries in the world. Japan operates Aegis-equipped destroyers, advanced missiles, defensive systems, modern fighter jets, and is even developing new generation stealth aircraft. But still, everything the self-defense forces does must fit within the legal interpretation of Article 9. Japan cannot launch a preemptive strike on enemy territory unless it's responding to an immediate threat. It cannot participate in offensive combat, missions abroad, and it cannot develop certain weapon systems used by other major powers. The self-defense force also plays a special role inside Japan. It responds to earthquakes, typhoons, floods, and large-scale disasters. Internationally, Japan participates in UN peacekeeping missions, anti-piracy patrols, and humanitarian assistance across Asia and Africa. So, while Japan does have a capable military, it operates under strict legal, political, and cultural limitations that no other major economy shares. And those limitations are the key reason why Japan relies heavily on partnership and alliances for its broader security. This means that by design, Japan depends on alliances, especially the one with the United States. That dependency is voluntary, but it becomes a key reason some people feel Japan is not fully independent. And this leads directly to the next part of the debate, the US military presence. Today, roughly 54,000 American troops are stationed across Japan. This is not normal for most countries, and for some people, it looks like proof that Japan is under US control. Okinawa especially carries the weight. Even though it's a small part of Japan, it hosts around 70% of all US military facilities in the country. Many Okinawans have lived their entire lives surrounded by US aircraft, vehicles, bases, and soldiers. That creates frustration, and frustration makes words like colony sound believable, even though the legal reality is different. So, after watching the clip, seeing the US bases, and hearing the history, here's the big question. Is Japan actually a US colony? And the factual answer, the legal answer, is no. Japan is a completely sovereign nation. Japan chooses its own government through democratic elections. It writes its own laws, it controls its courts, its budget, its immigration policies, and its foreign diplomacy. The United States cannot force Japan to change a law or dictate political decisions. One of the clearest proof of Japan's sovereignty is this. The Japan-US Security Treaty can be cancelled by Japan with just 1 year's notice. If Japan truly were a colony, it would not have the power to end this treaty, but Japan does. The presence of the US military does not mean Japan is controlled. It means Japan has chosen a security partnership that fits its post-war constitution and its strategic needs. A colony does not choose its alliance. The term colony has a very specific meaning in international law. A colony is a territory that is governed or directly controlled by another country. It does not have its own elected leadership, its own courts, or the freedom to make independent decisions. Japan doesn't match any of these criteria. Japan is recognized by the United Nations as a fully sovereign state. It issues its own passport, negotiates its own treaties, and maintains diplomatic relations with countries around the world entirely on its own terms. Every major decision Japan makes, from trade policy to elections, comes from Japanese institutions, not foreign governments. Economically, Japan is also completely independent. It has its own currency, the yen, and its own central bank, the Bank of Japan. Japan negotiates trade deals separately from the United States, sets its own interest rates, and frequently disagrees with the US economic policies. If Japan were a colony, this independent decision would not be possible. And the treaty itself exists because Japan wants it. Under Article 9, Japan cannot maintain certain offensive capabilities. The alliances give Japan access to missile defense, intelligence cooperation, nuclear deterrence, and military technology that it cannot legally and practically develop alone. This is why both countries benefit from the alliance. The United States gains a strategic position in the Indo-Pacific. Japan gains security guarantees it cannot fully provide for itself. It is a mutual partnership, not a colonial hierarchy. Politicians use the word colony because it's emotional powerful. They express frustration, especially in regions like Okinawa, where the burden of the US base is heavy. And online, emotional words spread faster than facts. But legally, politically, and economically, Japan is not controlled by the United States. Japan is a sovereign country that voluntarily maintains a security partnership with America, not a nation under colonial rule. And understanding this difference is essential to understanding modern Japanese politics. If Japan is sovereign, why does it rely so heavily on the United States for security? The answer is geographically, and the reality of the world around Japan. Japan is located in one of the most tense and militarized regions on the planet. To the west, China is rapidly expanding its navy and conducting military operations near Taiwan and the Senkaku Island. To the north, North Korea is launching missiles, some of them right over Japanese territory. And Russia, after isolating itself internationally, has strengthened military cooperation with China in the region. This is why Japan chose the alliance with the United States. Not because it's forced to, not because it's controlled, but because it's the most effective and realistic way to protect the country under its current constitution. The United States provides capabilities Japan cannot legally or physically build. Strategic deterrence, nuclear protection, long-range strike capacity, and global military reach. So, when Japan cooperates closely with the US, it's not a sign of colonial dependence. It's a strategic decision, a choice made to guarantee national security in a dangerous neighborhood. In 2025, the "Is Japan a US colony?" debate is louder than ever, not because Japan lost sovereignty, but because Japan is finally changing. After decades of low defense spending, Japan is increasing its military budget to levels not seen since the post-war era. Japan is purchasing counter-strike missiles, upgrading its fighter jets, strengthening alliances with Australia, the UK and Europe, debating wherever the constitution, especially Article 9, should be revised. These changes make citizens wonder whether Japan is becoming too dependent on the United States or perhaps not independent enough. For Okinawa, the debate is even more emotional. The island has hosted the majority of the US base for more than 70 years. So even if the alliance is strategic, the local burden feels unfair. This fools the colonial metaphor, even if the metaphor doesn't match legal reality. And then there is politics. Every time a politician like Taro Yamamoto used the word colony, even in a short clip, it spreads quickly online. People react emotionally before looking at the facts. And that keeps the debate alive, even though the Prime Minister herself clearly said, Japan is a sovereign nation. So the debate isn't just about the United States. It's about Japan's identity, Japan's role in Asia, and Japan's future as a peaceful nation in a region that is becoming less peaceful every year. So, after all the emotion, the history, the speeches, and the headlines, what is the real answer? Japan is not a US colony. Not legally, not politically, not economically. Japan controls its own government, its own laws, its borders, its courts, and its election. The United States cannot force Japan to do anything, and Japan can end the security treaty within 1 year if it chooses. But Japan is also not completely military independent. Because of Article 9 of the legacy of the post-war constitution, Japan has chosen a defense model built on partnerships. The United States provides the capabilities Japan cannot legally maintain, and Japan provides strategic presence in the Pacific. This relationship creates dependency, yes, but dependency is not colonialism. It's a strategy, a choice made in a response to threats, geography, and global reality. Taro Yamamoto's viral clip used strong words, but strong words do not change the facts. Japan is sovereign. The question is not whether Japan is a colony, but how much independence Japan wants in the future. If you found this explanation helpful, subscribe for more clear and honest videos about Japan and the world. And tell me in the comments, should Japan rely less on the United States, or is the alliance still necessary in 2025? Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.